Okay, I want to read his bio real quick, just to start this off. So Jonathan Byrd was the 2002 PGA Tour Rookie of the Year, has won 5 times on the PGA Tour. He attended Clemson University and was the first 4-time first-team All-ACC player in Clemson history and was named a first-team All-American in 1999. He turned professional in 2000. In his first season on the PGA Tour in 2002, he won the Buick Challenge and was named PGA Tour Rookie of the Year. He also won the 2017 Web.com Tour Championship by 4 strokes, securing his full PGA Tour card for the first time since 2014. Jonathan and his wife Amanda have 3 children and reside in St. Simons Island, Georgia. And we are excited to have you here, Jonathan. So
thanks for having me.
You guys are good. You can hear us, right? Or I don't want to get halfway through this and half of you didn't hear this. So if you can't, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, so Byrd, why don't you just start us off by giving us an insight of what your life was like growing up, childhood, all that stuff.
Well, I grew up in South Carolina, and as Matt was up here talking, I really could identify with a lot of things in his story. Just kind of growing up in the South, in the Bible Belt. I grew up in a very stable home. I grew up in a great church. Parents had a solid marriage, good kid growing up. Played a lot of sports, probably around 7th grade. I have a 7th grade son right now who's 13, who's just decided he wants to just focus on golf, which I'm kind of sad about because I want him to play a lot of sports. But that's what I did around 7th grade. I just decided I wanted to just focus on golf. Didn't have much height. Still don't have much height. Now I don't have hair. But it was golf was my sport, what I was good at, and just wanted to kind of keep working at it. My dad played football at Chapel Hill. So I grew up in a very competitive home with my older brother. He was 18 months older, so we competed at everything and played every sport we could on the side, but golf was our sport.
So at what point did you start thinking, man, I'm actually kind of good at this game?
When I was in high school, I remember in 7th grade, I went to the Masters for the first time because we were only about an hour and a half from Augusta, hour and 15 minutes. And I came back, we'd been to the Heritage Tournament in Hilton Head before when I was younger, but I came back and I was just thinking that'd be a really cool job. I mean, you walk around that place and kind of the dream got started to play golf on the PGA Tour. So from that standpoint, that's what I wanted to do. And in high school, I was the best player on my team. I got a scholarship to go to Clemson. And then while at Clemson, I played with some great players. I played with Lucas Glover, who's had a lot of success, a guy named Charles Warren, DJ Trahan, another kid, John Engler. So we had a really good golf team at Clemson. But I won a couple tournaments in college and just kind of always felt like I could play professionally. And my dad, on the other hand, was kind of a pessimist, maybe a realist. He was the other way. He was always like, he told my mom when I was in high school, was like, I don't know if he's going to be able to make the high school team. I was the best player in high school. And then I'm not sure he can really do this in college thing. And then went to college, played well at Clemson, was All-American 3 out of 4 years. And it wasn't until my second year on tour, I was in the third to last group in the Masters, and my dad looked at my brother and my mom and said, I think he's going to make it. Just to bring it full circle. So it took me to get to that point, third to the last group in the Masters, for my dad to really believe, I think my son's going to be a professional golfer.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with your family growing up. I know that you were close with your dad, but talk about y'all's relationship and even just the faith climate of your home.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were believers. My mom probably a little stronger in her faith than my dad, outwardly. But I grew up. I grew up going to Young Life in middle school. I think I was in maybe elementary school, maybe 3rd, 4th grade. I remember coming back, being in a cabin, and a guy asking us to, pray the prayer to receive Jesus. I asked Jesus into my heart. I don't remember I remember praying it, but I don't remember necessarily the condition of my heart and really fully understanding my sin. I just remember like this is kind of what I was supposed to do. And my mom wrote it in her journal that I did that. So I remember like desiring to read my Bible on some level and to get involved in, say, a young life. I thought it was important, but it wasn't really, I wouldn't say I was saved. God was not first in my life. Golf was, and girls, and making good grades in high school. Just that, approval of man. High school and also into college was kind of the main, desire of my heart, was just to kind of be a good kid and do well. And I felt like if I could do that, I was going to have great experiences, and I might get to do what I wanted to do in life, and that was to play professional golf.
And what when you look back now, and you as your dad, and you have kids and everything, what do you feel like in the climate of your home is something that you want to emulate from your parents and pass on to your kids, and then what is something that you want to do differently? Great question.
Emulate. I'd love to emulate. My dad's passed away. He passed away in 2009. He had brain cancer. But my parents, just whatever they said, they did it. They modeled it well. It's the greatest thing my parents did. If they said don't drink, they didn't do it. And not that I understood everything, why they didn't do things or did things or did not do things, but they just modeled it well. My dad worked in public relations for Bell South and the phone company for a long time. He was a federal lobbyist. He was a people person. He treated people extremely well. I remember going to his office, and he knew the janitor, whoever worked and cleaned up in his office. He knew their names, all the way up to the CEO. And I was always impressed by how my dad treated people. So I really wanted to model that well. And then just my mom, just kind of as her word, like just how she, if she said something, she was going to do it. She was going to do it well. What things I would do different? My dad, never saw my dad cry. Didn't see much emotion out of my dad. I remember finding out his dad passed away. I was in the car, and I was in middle school, and I'm thinking, here we go. I'm gonna see my dad cry. This is gonna be it. And never saw him shed a tear. So I feel like I missed out on my dad's heart. He always told me he was proud of me at every stage. He was always there. So that was a model. But just feel like I missed out. I didn't really know my dad's heart. Didn't see my dad read his Bible very much. So one thing I would love for my kids to know is I want them to know my heart, the ups and downs, the struggles. I want them to see a guy who struggles and just kind of to be real. I'm going on too long, but those are some of the things.
So you're a good golfer, you get a scholarship, go to Clemson. Kind of what are you expecting out of your college life?
I'm crying already up here.
Hey, that's okay.
Early. Say that again? Sorry.
Just you're getting a scholarship to go to Clemson. That was like your school you wanted to go to, right?
No, I wanted to go to Chapel Hill because that's where my dad went. And it actually came down to Chapel Hill or Clemson. And Clemson was just a better fit. And I decided to go there. They had a better team. So
you're excited to go to Clemson. What is it that you think you're kind of looking for in your college experience? What are you hoping for?
I remember people saying, like, I had a godparents who went to Clemson, and they just kept saying, you're going to love the college experience. And I just had this built up in my mind that I just didn't want to miss out on anything in college. My parents were pretty strict, and I got very skilled in high school at lying to my parents and kind of being this really good kid that they thought didn't do anything wrong. And I would go drinking on the weekends, but eat a chili dog with onions before I came home. So when I kissed my mom, she wouldn't smell the alcohol in my breath or the smoke. So I was just very skilled at kind of your behind the scenes different life you're living to what you want to keep up with appearances. And I felt like once I got to college, I could kind of let loose. And when I got to Clemson, I wanted to kind of get the full experience, and I did that. And somehow I was able to make good grades. I made the dean's list. I played good golf. I won a tournament as a freshman, was a honorable mention All-American. And it was just kind of, my advisor was happy with me, my coach was happy with me. And I was kind of sending it on the weekends, on Thursday through Saturday, having a good time, and just kind of keeping everything in balance. So I thought I was kind of doing everything as I should.
So give us an idea. So you say at this point in your life, if you had to fill out a questionnaire or something, are you a Christian? Yes or no? You're gonna check the box, yes. Now looking back, you're gonna say, man, I didn't understand anything. So tell us about that transition, because I know that happened in college. Of here I am in college, I identify myself as a Christian, but then there's some sort of change that happens. So give us a window into that.
Yeah, I would definitely call myself a Christian, but I never went to church. I never really went home on weeks off. And I had an experience where I was at an ATM one night with my roommate, and we were getting money to go downtown to go to the bars. And these two high school kids came up to us, and they started sharing their faith with us. And it made me so mad, because they were kind of getting in my way of what I wanted to do. And they kept sharing their faith. And I remember looking at these two kids, and they're asking me, what does it mean to be a Christian? And I gave them all the right answers. If you ask Jesus in your heart, ask him to forgive you your sins, he will forgive your sins, and you'll live eternity with him. And ever since that moment, I pretty much told these kids, kind of, be gone. And I just felt this slow conviction of the Lord just kind of pursuing me at that point. And would have called myself a Christian. I had all the head knowledge of what it meant to be a Christian. But I was 12 inches away from really getting it, but it never penetrated my heart to where there was any life change, any heart change. I was not a new creation. You read these verses about being a new creation, and I just felt dead in my heart. I just felt like these pursuits that I desired, that I thought would bring me ultimate satisfaction, were leaving me empty. They weren't satisfying me like I thought they would. And I'm starting to question, like, how's this going to play out? I felt like the guy gave me the ability to see forward and say, like, am I going to be doing this when I'm still pursuing these same things when I'm older? Is this what my life's going to look like the next 2 years in college? And it just started to kind of crumble a little bit and fall apart to where I'm starting to feel like, what does God have for me? What does it mean to be a Christian? Because I'm not one.
So tell me, what you're really talking about a lot is your identity. And so in this time, what do you feel like you're realizing about your identity? Where is it?
My identity is fully wrapped up in my golf, approval of man, what others think of me, just the wheel of performance of, when I perform well and shoot a good score, everyone's happy with me. And then also just the depths of when I'm not playing well, feeling terrible about myself as a golfer and as a man. And then that would cause me to, pursue other things that weren't healthy.
So you heard truth in your life growing up. You knew, you gave these guys that came up to you the right answers, for lack of a better term. And you had this kind of experience. But as we talked in your sophomore year, you talked about that there was something that made you turn. Why did you turn back to Christ rather than just turn to something else?
I really felt like, somewhat like the prodigal son. I felt like I was running. I feel like God opened my eyes to this and gave me this gift to be able to see that I was running away from him, and he was running after me. He was pursuing me. And I think I feel like he broke me in that moment, because I felt like, why would God pursue me? I want nothing to do with him. I claim to know him, but there's no obedience, there's no surrender at all. So I just felt a loving God pursuing me. And as I read scripture and I went to FCA at Clemson, I started to spend time with other Christians, men that had this peace, this attractiveness, this realness in their faith that I wanted. They had something I didn't have. And it was very attractive. And so just a loving father pursuing me and opening my eyes to things that I really hadn't seen before in college. So God saved me in college. And there was a decision on my part of just kind of transferring control and surrender. But God definitely opened my eyes to the truth at that point.
This is one of the beautiful, if not the most beautiful thing about Christianity. If you look at any other world religion, there is no other world religion where the God, the deity, actually humbles himself. And even if for some reason he did, he would pursue only those who are the elite. And what Christianity is that God humbles himself in imperfection, and in his great love, he pursues the least of these. He pursues those that are running from him, those who can't imagine that God would actually bestow his love upon them. That's amazing. That's amazing that our God would do that. And that's what Byrd is talking about, is where the heart begins to transform. And like I said, I don't know any of you guys in here and where you guys stand, but where your heart begins to transform is when you begin to understand the love of the Father. Truly that God loves you in your sin. He covers it. And we are so, very likely this room is full of a lot of high performers. And our greatest fear is being exposed in weakness. I'm one of them, so I'm here in the boat with you. And so, but that is one of the most beautiful things. And that's when life begins to transform. And you go, oh my goodness, how good is my God? If you would love me and who I am, I will serve you the rest of my life. And that's your story. That's your story, Byrd. So you do this, you come to this realization, you say, God, I am done with this former life. I'm going to walk with you. Now, what is life like after that?
Well, I would say I started to try to figure out what a relationship with Christ is all about. I wasn't discipled in college, so I think for a couple years I just kind of stumbled along. But I think God changed the desires of my heart, the things I wanted to pursue. I still had a great desire to play golf professionally, and I think that's good. To have things to work hard, work as hard as you can and see how far you can go. But I think just my identity began to change in the sense that the highs and the lows weren't as high, the lows weren't as low. I went to a conference in college. The girl I was dating, who's now my wife, and I heard a guy, Tommy Nelson, talk about dating, relationships, and courtship, Song of Solomon series, and God kind of blew up my vision of what it meant to date a girl and court a girl towards marriage and what that looked like, because I was not doing that well. And I've been married for, say, 17 years now. We have 3 kids together, and we have a great marriage. But I would say, I've experienced a lot of highs in golf. I had a lot of great experiences. But I've been able to look at those highs as not to be ultimates that, prove my existence, but just gifts from the Lord that I got to enjoy. And then the low points of God's given me peace during those hard times to, help sustain me during those times. And I've seen God teach me things through those hard times.
Yeah, I think that's so huge to understand both sides of that coin as we start walking with the Lord. Not only are our lows differently in that we have hope in our trials, but that our highs are actually different as well, and that the things that we achieve in this life, they actually become less attractive. And when God gives you a PGA Tour victory, you receive it as, man, that's really just sweet of the Lord. That was great. It's great to accomplish something, but it's not who I am. And so, Jonathan, why don't you tell a little story? I love this story about you. The press conference, and you can set up the story a little better than I can, but the press conference where the guy kind of talked with you about your faith or something.
Well, I haven't had the most consistent career of all times. I've had periods of times where I really started playing well, and then I got injured, or I've started really playing well, and then I started working on the wrong thing, and I've kind of struggled for a while. But this was in 2007. I won my first tour event in 2002 as a rookie. I had a great year in '03. I finished 8th at the Masters, 15th at the U.S. Open. Was doing really well, and then I had a hip surgery in '04. And then at the end of '04, I won my second PGA Tour event, and then kind of went through a little drought after that. And then at '07, I had just missed 4 straight cuts and was not having a good season. We just had our first child that summer, our son Jackson. So like you, I was in the weeds, but I was on the weeds on the road, traveling with a newborn baby, not sleeping well. And we got to the John Deere Classic, and I figured something out that week and got in contention and ended up birdieing 3 out of the last, say, 5 holes. Tim Clark made a bogey coming in. I won the golf tournament, and they put a microphone in front of me and just asked me, how'd you do it? I just missed 4 straight cuts. And now I'm winning. I just won a golf tournament. And my first thought was just I was at peace. And I was just so thankful that I was able to get through 4 weeks of struggling, and God gave me peace during that period of time. And then I was trying to win a golf tournament, and I had peace out there today. So I think that was what I said, and that was just trying to speak my heart in the moment.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it ministered to me whenever, what year was that?
'07.
'07. So I was in college, yeah. That's probably when I heard the story, but I was in college, and you hear of all these guys who get up after they win something or close a big business deal or whatever it is, and they go, man, God has been so good to me. And what the profound thing about this is that he got up and he said, God was just as good to me in these struggles of missing all these cuts as he was to me in this victory. And that is just a total paradigm shift. That was a huge paradigm shift for me in college, and something that I still remember. Actually, I wanted him to share that story because it ministered to me when I was in college. So tell us about your life now. What's going on? Where are you at? Where are you at on tour? Where are you at with your family? Tell us about your kids.
Well, just kind of golf, golf stories, Let me just tell you some golf stories. Like I've had some really good highs, I've gotten to my rookie year on tour. I got to play with Tom Watson at Colonial I think it was on a Saturday round. Finished, I think I finished top 10. He finished maybe 6th. That was a highlight of my career. About 4 months later, I was at a polo photo shoot trying to get on board with polo, and I met Tom Watson again, and I'm feeling pretty good because I was, my rookie year. And I saw Tom. I'm like, hey, Tom, Jonathan Byrd, we played together at Colonial. And he goes, yeah, we played together in the Wednesday Pro-Am, right? So I came to Tom Watson thinking, of course he remembers me. I was hitting it 20 yards by him and playing great. And he thought we played together in the Pro-Am. So, and then probably like a month later, I was the last man in the field. Somebody withdrew. I got in the Memorial Tournament. And I played with, I got like Wednesday afternoon, the pairings came out, or Wednesday, and I got paired with Jack Nicklaus and Vijay Singh. Terrified, rookie. And I think I shot 78 the first day, played awful. The second day I was playing pretty good. I think I shot 69, but I was coming out in the last 4 holes, and I don't know how old Jack was, but he was too old to be playing in the tournament. But he was playing really well, and he birdied 3 out of the last. He birdied the last 3 holes. He birdied 16, 17 at Memorial. This is one of my highlights. And we got on 18, and I had this 5-footer for par, and he had this 20-footer on 18. He's famous for birdieing the last hole, and this thing's breaking like 4 feet down the hill. And he comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, son, I think you ought to go ahead and putt because you're going to go crazy when I make this putt." And my first instinct was, yeah, right. You're not as good as you used to be. And I putted out. I think I missed it. Got off the green. And I'm standing on the fringe. I'm like, this is pretty cool. It's electric because he's gonna make the cut. And he center cut this 20-footer, and they went nuts. That was one of my highlights. I've gotten to play with Tiger a couple times. great, fun to play with Tiger because it's like a Thursday round. It feels like the final round of the Masters, and you're in the last group because there's so many people. And then my first tour win, I got to, this is one of my highlights. I'll tell two more stories. Is that good? This is my rookie year, and final group, or third to the last group, and I'm on like the 7th holes, leading the tournament by a shot. I had shot 67, 66, 65 first 3 days. I was still a couple back going into Sunday. And I hit this tee shot down the right side into the trees and the pine straw and over a hill. Not many fans. I get up there and the marshal says, "You hit somebody. I'm sorry to say you hit somebody." And I'm like, "Well, who'd I hit?" And he goes, "Well, you hit your fiance." My dad's up there with my fiance, Amanda, and I go over to check on her. I hit her in the right shoulder blade and quickly found out she was doing fine, and then quickly realized that I got a great bounce. And I hit this 3-wood out of the rough on the green, made 2-putt for birdie, kept my round going. I ended up shooting 63. I had a 5-hole stretch in the back 9. I went eagle, birdie, 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 eagle. This is my best, 5-hole stretch since I've been a pro. Shot 63. David Toms had a 15-footer. This is when David Toms was playing unbelievable in 02. He had a 15. I can't believe that's been that long ago. He had a 15-footer to tie me. I'm standing on the side of the green with the umbrella because it's starting to rain. I'm like, "Please don't make this. Please don't make this," because I have no chance of beating you in a playoff. And he missed it, and I won my first tour event. And then probably my biggest highlight as a pro was just kind of a strange moment, really. I was in Las Vegas, and I had just gone through a period. I was just trying to keep my card, really, that year. 2010, I'd been through, I think, an injury, and I wasn't, I'd played really well that week. I was hitting it really well and knew I was playing good. And I went out on Sunday and just kind of having a flat Sunday, not doing anything. I was in the last group. And I got on 15T in my caddy, and I said, "Well, we got to birdie the last 4 holes to have a chance to win this." And I birdied 15, I birdied 16, and 17 is this par 3. And I hit it like 15 feet. I make it. I get on 18, and I realize I got to make par to get in the playoff. I got a 9-iron into the green, and I hit bail out 40 feet, 2-putt, and get in the playoff. And then I'm with Cameron Percy and a guy named Martin Laird, and we go 3 holes in the playoff in Las Vegas. They played there last week, and make like 8-footer on the 3rd playoff hole to save par. And it's getting dark, and we're trying to figure out if we should go another hole or not. And I'm like, I was so happy because I was going to keep my card. Worst I'm going to do is finish second. I was like, "Man, I'll stay here a month if y'all want to finish this tournament. Whatever y'all want to do." And we decided to go play one more hole. We run over to 17th tee. I'm up first. I hit a 6-iron. I hit another good shot like I did in regulation, and it's kind of drawn on the pin. I can't see it because it's dark halfway. There's nobody at the green, so there's no applause. Ball goes in the hole. Make a hole in one. And then I'm like, all my friends make fun of me. Greatest shot I ever hit to win a golf tournament, worst reaction because I'm just like dumbfounded. I'm like so uncomfortable. Like, all right, these 2 guys got a hit. Should I run around this green? Kind of like I should have like run around the green tee box like I wanted to run around this room, but I didn't do it. I just kind of stood there like awkwardly. Oh my God, I just made a hole in one. It was just, and these 2 guys hit it in the water. Tournament's over. Made a hole in one to win a PGA Tour event. That was definitely one of the highlights. The best part of the whole story to me was we had 2 young kids. They were at home. They were young, and they were bored to death they were so excited for me to be in a playoff, and then they're bored to death. And my wife's looking at it, and they're like, "Mom, when's this gonna be over?" And she goes, "Okay, take your clothes off. Let's go get in the bathtub." They're at home in Georgia. So they stripped down naked, and then I hit my shot in the hole. So when I made the hole in one, my kids are buck naked, jumping up and down. So
pretty good right there. So catch us up to where you are right now. What's going on in your life? Where are you currently on tour, and with your family and everything?
My last win was in 2011 at the Hyundai Tournament of Champions. I had a wrist surgery in 2012, which golf just really hadn't gone that well since then. It's been a struggle. I'm 41 now. So I lost my card after, say, 2014 was my last year, or 14, I think, with kind of full status. I played a couple years on the Korn Ferry Tour. Didn't regain my card that last year. I always have past champion status, so I can always play in a certain amount of PGA Tour events. And I won the Korn Ferry Tour Finals in 2017. And then last year was kind of one of my better years. I was playing really well, and then I didn't finish too well. I finished 151, so they give you status, conditional status for 126 to 150. I was at the last tournament watching guys putt out at the last end, and I, boom, just barely finished 151. But now I'm still past champion status this year, which will get me in maybe 15 to 18 events, possibly. So golf hadn't been the greatest the last 4 or 5 years. It's been a struggle. Everybody kind of keeps getting younger and hitting it further. So it's getting harder. I still feel called to it, a desire to do it and work hard at it. But it's definitely been a struggle. It's been a struggle for my family, and I thank the Lord that my kids have seen me struggle, because it's been good for my family. It's been good for us, drawing us closer together. And we're on mission together as a team, like through my work and through how we love people. But they see me struggle, and we've had some victories. But golf's been tough. It's been really tough. But that's just kind of where God's had us. Lost my dad in 2009. That was hard for our family. But God gave us peace during that time. But that's kind of where we are.
So tell us a little bit about what life is like on the road. Who do you hang out with?
Also, sorry, I have a 13-year-old son who's my height, and his club head speed's already 113. So y'all need to pray for me, because he's about to start hitting it past me. And I might be coming up here another time with gold chains or something, midlife crisis. My son's beating me. Sorry.
No, you're good. Tell us, so just give us a window into kind of what life looks like on the road, especially, man, as it's not as maybe glamorous as it used to be, or as golf is just a harder effort right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure plenty of men in the room travel with their work. So, I mean, with my kids my age, 13, 10, and 7, I think the hardest part now is just missing things at home. They still get to travel with me a little bit, but I just miss stuff. And so traveling's gotten a little more difficult. Like I said, I still like to work hard at it. I still enjoy it. I still enjoy competing, working out, and doing those things to get better. You know, from a faith standpoint, fortunately, I got some great men in my life. There's guys, his bosses, Brad Payne and Stephen Bond, are men that are really pouring into my life, guys I do life with on tour. There's guys like Zach Johnson, Ben Crane, Stuart Sink, Cameron Tringali. There's others that I have on the road that we're encouraging each other in our walk with Christ and with our families as men. And that's vitally important for me. I have a men's group at home that's really important that my assistant pastor leads. And that's really important for me, just to kind of do life with men at home. But my wife and I are trying to raise 3 kids and do that well. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
So I'm going to ask them just 2 more questions, but I want you guys, we're going to do a few minutes of Q&A. So if you have any questions, earmark them. We'll come back to them. But so 2 things. I kind of going to say it in one question, but how has the gospel changed your life, simply? And then what kind of encouragement, exhortation, challenge do you have to guys in this room?
Well, I used to think the gospel or just Christianity was about like that I do this and I don't do that. That it was just kind of this life of what do I do for God and what I don't do just to obey the Bible, I guess. But the gospel now, I view it as the loving Father came down and rescued me, that I was dead and I could not save myself. I could not live this Christian life out myself, and I needed a Savior. And the gospel has changed my life because I was a slave to performance. I was slave to what people thought about me. And I still struggle with that. I am a work in progress, and I struggle with my identity getting wrapped up in golf and what people think about me and my performance. But God has freed me from that. What I was used to be a slave to, God has given me freedom from that. And praise God for that, because no one wants to be a slave to anything. And it's a hard existence living, especially in the job I live in, because I am a ranking, I'm a score. I can be telling myself, I'm a great golfer, and then a minute later I can just be saying, I suck. I'm pitiful. And I struggle with that. I mean, that is a real battle. I'll battle with that this week. But Christ has come over me, put his arm around me, and said, you are free from that. You are free to enjoy this game and not worry about what people think about you, because I've called you to be, you are holy and blameless in my sight, and you're my child. I mean, amen to that.
So just kind of challenge, exhortation to these guys. What would you have for them?
I guess my challenge, just in your faith as a man, I think I've found great freedom living in truth. I mean, to have men in your life that you tell them all your deep, darkest secrets, and to be real and to live in authenticity. I think to call your sin into the light. I think just have some men in your life that doesn't have to be a big group, but that you're real with. It's a great thing.
That's good. That's so good. And I know that in my own life, it's not like I had this one moment of courage where I brought the things that have brought shame upon my own life into the light one time. I have to do this regularly, and I can say that I've been a Christian since 2001, so 18 years, and I feel like it's just as hard now as it was then to actually go to my wife and say, you know what, I messed that up. I'm sorry. But man, I tell you what, God has been so faithful to show me that there's never been a time I can remember where I have been honest about what's going on in my life that I've ever regretted it. And so, Byrd, I really appreciate that, because not only do you say these words, but I've gotten to know you long enough to see that you really embody that. And so, thank you so much for being here with us. And we're going to open it up to questions. Man, we got one eager guy. I love it. Let's go ahead and get started with some questions, and then I'll cut us off whenever we need to stop. So.
One of the Bible leaders on the tour today.
We used to.
How many of them?
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I apologize. We used to have a couple guys, a guy named Larry Moody and Dave Kruger, with a ministry called Search Ministries, who faithfully served us for almost 30 years. And they've transitioned out, and we've got his two bosses, Brad Payne and Stephen Bunn, with College Golf Fellowship, who disciple us, and they lead a Bible study and just come minister to us during the tournament weeks on the PGA Tour.
And who are some of the players that are?
The players that go? We got a wide variety of guys that go. I mean, there's non-believers that come to the study every once in a while, but I would say, the older guys that probably a lot of guys would know would be Zach Johnson, Stuart Sink, myself. Please help me out. Cameron Tringali, Kevin Streelman, Ben Crane. We got some younger guys like a Sam Burns. There's Davis Love comes. There's probably 4 or 5 younger guys that I'm forgetting, but we got a pretty good group of guys out on the tour.
Who else? Right here.
Thank you so much for your message today. Can you tell us how you've been able to mentor and give back amongst your colleagues? Obviously, a very tough profession, but you have such a strong foundation in faith. Maybe you could speak to how you've been able to mentor and just bless other men. Thank you.
Well, thanks.
Great
I appreciate that. it doesn't always. I mean, there's times where I've mentored guys. My best way I can speak to that is the guys that have mentored to me that I've tried to model well, and that, like a Davis Love. My wife and I were engaged. He had us come to St. Simon's. We stayed in his house. He showed us around town, took us to restaurants, like hooked us up with his brother-in-law as a realtor, and like just kind of opened up their home to us. It was nice to me, you know, and that meant a lot to me. To have a guy like Paul Stankowski was a guy that really influenced me on tour when I first came out. I love Paul, I love his heart, but just the guy who was authentic and real and shared his struggles. And I got to watch how he treated people. I got to watch how Davis Love treated people on the PGA Tour, and just kind of how he did his business. I used to say, what would Davis do instead of what would Jesus do? Like in a golf situation, like if I had to make a decision on something, what would Davis do in this situation? Because he always just kind of does the right thing. But I mean, I've just kind of played practice rounds with guys, you know, gone, had coffee with them, you know, been a good listener. Had some guys maybe stay in my house. We've had a CGF retreat at Davis's and Zach's house. Their houses are bigger than mine. And they've played a little bit better. But you know, just be friends to people. Been able to disciple a few guys, take them maybe through some material. I haven't done this that well. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I think I've just been able to be a friend to some young guys, help them answer them questions about, should I do this? Should I get an agent? Should I play this tournament? Should I take a week off? When should I get married in my schedule? You know, should I miss this tournament? Should I play? You know, some of that stuff goes a long way, that if you're just kind of intentional.
I can just speak to that real quickly in that oftentimes I think we complicate mentorship and thinking it's a very, you know, structured thing. I meet with this guy on Thursday morning at 6 a.m. We go through this material, and then when we do it for 6 weeks, and then pass them on, and then we move on. And one of the things that Byrd does so well, and he's done here today, is he just unveils his life before people. And he just is who he is. He's modeled what he talked about. His parents modeled. He is who he is, and there's no deceit. There's no just kind of dark spots there that you just don't know. And that, I mean, it's, as knowing a lot of those younger guys he's talking about, they love Byrd because of that, and that just ministers to them really well. We got time for probably 2 more, so feel free to ask golf questions.
Golf questions,
yeah.
too.
Go ahead.
So how did you glorify the Lord? What did you say and do?
How do I glorify the Lord?
What did you say and do?
Well, I don't always glorify the Lord by how I respond to poor golf and challenging situations, as my son has watched. But I think the best way I can glorify the Lord is just to be joyful, and to have a thankful heart. You know, golf hasn't always gone that well, but man, I've had a great career. I got an awesome family. I got an amazing wife, godly wife. And then I got great friendships out here. The Lord continues to give me opportunities to compete and to play out here with the status that I have. So just to be thankful. I can glorify the Lord by how hard I work and prepare. I think that's the way I can glorify the Lord. And when I get an opportunity to speak, take advantage of that opportunity and just share my story. Those are some of the ways I think I can best glorify the Lord. And then when I screw up, to be quick to apologize and seek forgiveness. I mean, I've been amazed in my life how God's used times where I've blown it, and I call a player up and go, man, I was an ass out there today on the golf course. Sorry to cuss, but I am. I mean, there's times I lose it, and forgive me.
Does that mean you threw the golf club?
I've thrown a few golf clubs. But like, there's just times I don't handle situations really well, or I get mad at a volunteer or another competitor, and I lose my cool. But I can always seek forgiveness and restore that relationship and redeem it.
Yeah. Right here, Chris.
Thanks for coming today, Jonathan, and giving your testimony and your openness. 2 questions, if I could.
Go ahead.
A follow-up to the mentorship question. With you being open, have you had guys on the tour approach you or seek you out to talk about that? And then how do you feel about Golf Club of Houston this week? And good luck.
Thank you. I actually have had guys seek me out on certain things. Like not necessarily, hey, I'd love to start meeting with you and open up about this or do a discipleship. I think that's something you got to build friendship first, and people always have to learn that you care about them, and that you got to show how much you care before they're going to really open up to you and spend time with you. So I think that happens over time, but guys will trust you enough to bring you to ask you questions. Like one young guy on the PGA Tour, I met him on the web.com tour, is a guy named Keith Mitchell. And if you don't know Keith Mitchell, he's phenomenal talent. He bombs it. And the first time I played with him, I'm like, wow, this guy's going to be on tour and he's going to do really well. But we became quick friends. Our personalities are completely different. He's, just a free bird out there, and I'm methodical, but we kind of hit it off. And like the smallest things that I thought were just kind of trivial that I did for him, he holds those things as like that Byrd just hung the moon. So it's amazing how being an older person, like an older guy on tour, things that I just having lunch with him or just giving him advice that he just couldn't believe that I would spend that time with him. So I've built friendships that way. With regard to the tournament this week, this is the last year we're going to be there. It's a different golf course, not being overseeded. We've always played here the week before Augusta. So the golf course played at times when it rained a little slower. You didn't get much roll. You had shaved banks with the ryegrass on the holes with water on it. This year it's Bermuda rough. The rough is going to be challenging, hitting it into those greens, but the course might play a little faster, and I'm looking forward to the kind of the opportunity. But it's nice hitting shots into 18 if you've played there before, that if you miss it a little left, that the rough holds it up. It's not going to run down in the water. So there are a few nice things about the course being in different grass. And then next year, just driving here today and seeing just everything closer to downtown, I look forward to next year being closer to town and just we've always been out at Golf Club of Houston, so you kind of miss the rest of Houston. So looking forward to that opportunity.
Well, thank you, Byrd. Guys, let's give Byrd a round of applause.